In the dark, he waits, eyes like fire, burning from the black. Dimitri, the alpha, watching. Not all will survive his call. 2 Lycans feel it, a pull beneath their skin, older than blood. They run, not for prey, but for purpose, because the forest hunts back, betrayal, power, and the rising howl of something unstoppable. This is not the beginning. This is the last warning. This is the last howl. Chapter 1. The Calling. The wind outside Lyra's window howled, not loud but deep, low enough to be ignored, unless you knew what to listen for. She was barefoot, crouched near the old fireplace, her fingertips blackened with soot as she rummaged through a wooden box of broken things, a claw fragment, a snapped pendant, an old photo creased in half, all remnants of the life before her blood knew what it was. And then she felt it. Not a sound, not a voice, a pulse, like her bones remembered something her mind hadn't been told yet. Her hand froze mid-reach, her breath hitched, and in her mind a place, a scent, dirt, fog, pines, the forest. She stood slowly, eyes narrowing. No questions, no doubt, just motion. Within minutes, she'd packed a small canvas satchel, warm boots, silver ring, backup clothes she'd likely never wear, the kind of ritual packing one does before transformation. One last nod to the human shell. No goodbye note, no hesitation, only purpose. Evelyn was staring into her bathroom mirror, a single streak of blonde hair caught between her fingers, inspecting the results of her latest dye job. Her once raven dark hair now fell in soft, light waves around her shoulders, sun-touched, almost golden. "I look like a fairy tale victim," she murmured, smirking. Perfect. Then her hand trembled. A drop of water in the sink rippled. No sound, no whisper, but her pulse quickened like something remembered her. She exhaled slowly. "Yeah, I feel you," she said softly, looking toward the window, where the trees just outside her backyard seemed to lean closer than usual. She grabbed her jacket, slung a blade into the inside pocket, never for show, always for purpose, and tied her boots in double knots. The clearing was already damp with mist when Lyra arrived. The moon hadn't yet risen, but its light was creeping over the tree line, spilling long shadows through the pines. She waited in silence, crouched on a rock, watching her breath curl into the chilled evening air. Footsteps, purposeful, loud and familiar. Evelyn emerged from the mist, hands in her coat pockets, that ever-present grin playing at the corners of her mouth. Lyra raised an eyebrow. "You look like a shampoo commercial. Got possessed by a demon." Evelyn smirked. "Figured if I was gonna howl at the moon, might as well do it in high definition." Lyra shook her head, a rare smirk breaking her usual stone mask. "You're ridiculous." "I'm committed," Evelyn replied. "Besides, you're just mad I pull off the tragic wolf goddess vibe better than you." They stood a moment longer, letting silence wrap around them like a cloak. And then they both felt it. Again, stronger this time. The pulse wasn't in their heads anymore. It was beneath their feet, in the wind, in the waiting dark. The moon broke the horizon, pale, full, and ancient. They looked at each other. No more words needed. They raised their hands in unison, fingers curled, palms slapping together in a sharp, silent vow. The high five, more ritual than gesture now. And as it echoed into the clearing, their bones began to shift. Clothes tore, breath turned ragged, skin twisted into fur, and 2 shadows leapt forward into the night, toward the call, toward Dimitri, toward the unknown. Chapter 2. The Test. They ran, not away, not toward, but with purpose. Branches snapped under claw, fog parted around them like breath over a blade. The forest was alive with silence, the kind that comes before a storm. Two shapes, dark, lean, powerful, moved as one through the trees. Lyra, born of the curse. Evelyn, born of the will. Different origins. Same fire. They didn't speak. They couldn't. They understood. There was no voice in their minds, no whispered name, just the knowing. Something was wrong. A brother had been taken, or worse, had offered himself to something other than the pack. There is no treason greater than will in submission. This was their test, not of loyalty to a leader, but to the truth of what they are. In a world that howls for obedience, the wild ones know loyalty must never replace clarity. To run with another is not a sacrifice. It is a choice, made by those who know where they are going. Lyra moved like smoke over stone, her body built from instinct and memory. Evelyn ran beside her, heart hammering, golden hair whipping behind her like flame in the wind. No commands were given, none were needed. Dimitri did not send words. He sent truth, a pulse in the marrow, a direction etched into the spine. They followed not out of duty, but because the path was real. They were not lost. They were chosen. There are those who believe strength is forged in sacrifice, in bending, in breaking, in giving oneself to others. But the truth is sharper than that. To run with another, to fight alongside them, not as saviour or servant, but as an equal, is not sacrifice. It is sovereignty shared. The trees opened up into a long ravine, wide, damp, moonlit. They stopped at the edge, paws pressed into the dirt. Below, broken branches, a scent of old blood, and something else. The smell of the elders, and buried beneath it, him, their brother, the one who had turned away. Lyra growled low, not in rage, in recognition. Evelyn's ears twitched, her eyes narrowed. The path was clear. This was not a rescue, this was a reckoning, and the forest would soon remember what it meant to be claimed by the children of Lysanor.
It climbs higher. The night it's through.
Chapter 3. The Whisper Beneath the Moon. The forest around Calder was silent. Not the silence of peace, the silence of something listening. He stood at the edge of a forgotten glade. Moonlight, broken by skeletal trees, fog curling like breath from a dead god's lungs. He wasn't running anymore. He was waiting. And they came, not by wind nor sound, but by absence. The light dimmed slightly, and then they were there. 3 figures, robes like wet ash, faces pulled tight like paper over skull. The council of hollowed elders, the ones who spoke for no clan, the ones who whispered of unity and fed on the individual. One of them stepped forward, his voice like silk left too long in blood. "You've been searching for her, haven't you?" Calder said nothing, but the twitch in his jaw answered. "Celine," the second hissed, as though the name had flavour. Gone without a trace, not even a scent left behind. The third glided closer, his eyes cloudy but cruel. "And what has Lysanor done? What has Dimitri offered you? A test? A title? Silence?" Calder growled low, but it was not a threat. It was a pain that lived too long in the chest. "We can find her," the first elder said, "but strength must be shared. Through us. With us. What can Lysanor offer you that Nocturna cannot? He gives you silence. We offer you certainty. A pact. Power. Her." Calder's hand shook, not with rage, with restraint. The third elder leaned in, mouth just shy of fangs. "You fight for your pack, but they will never understand your pain. They will never carry your burden. But we will. We are one mind, one hunger, one purpose. You will no longer suffer alone. And that is always how it begins. Not with a sword at the throat, but with a hand on the shoulder. Not with fear, but with comfort. Not with truth, but with a lie you wish were true. The Journal of Shadows. Calder turned away, but not far enough. Their words echoed like scripture, and in the deepest part of him, the part that had howled Celine's name for nights unending, something wavered.
The wolf, it hunts alone.
Chapter 4. The Fog of Many Voices. The scent was old, but the pain it carried was sharp, fresh, human. Lyra lowered her snout, teeth bared slightly as she sniffed along the moss-covered soil. The blood was faded, no longer warm, but it belonged. She knew it. Calder. Ahead of her, Evelyn crouched low, ears forward, her pale fur bristling with alertness. She didn't need to look back. They both knew. He had passed this way. They moved like shadows, slipping between the trees, swift, deliberate, in unspoken sync. Their paws crushed no branch they didn't mean to. Their breath was quiet, but inside, their blood beat with urgency. The scent trail deepened, grew stranger. Wolf. And something else. As they crossed a narrow stream, the forest began to die around them. Trees bowed as if in mourning. The air grew thick, not just with fog, but with intent. And then they saw it. The village. Ancient, slouched under its own age. Cracked walls, windows half covered. Doors open not from welcome, but from neglect. The lanterns flickered cold blue. Fog hugged the ground like ash from something long burned. They stopped. Both wolves stood at the edge, paws frozen against damp stone. Neither moved, neither growled, but they felt it, together. A pulse, not sound, not thought. Something deeper, like instinct remembered. Dimitri, not speaking, not commanding, just knowing, flooding their blood like the scent of fire before a storm. Your brother has been touched. He walks near the edge. This is your test. Evelyn lowered her body slightly. Lyra turned her head, nostrils flaring, breath sharp. They didn't move forward yet. The scent here was too strange, too quiet. It wasn't just Calder anymore. There were others. And then came something else. Not from Dimitri. It didn't press like instinct. It coiled like smoke. Another presence seeped into their minds. Not a voice, a shape. Cold. Hollow. It didn't offer guidance. It offered comfort. He came to us in grief. We gave him unity. You still bear your burdens. We have none. One purpose, one pain, one counsel. Lyra growled low, teeth bared, not in rage, but defiance. Evelyn's hackles lifted, her tail low and rigid. The scent of rot and ritual filled the air, the markings on the well, the bone chimes hanging like forgotten prayers. This was no village. It was a sermon. They moved slowly into the square, side by side, cautious, silent. Somewhere deeper in the fog, a distant, mournful howl. Not rage, not dominance. Pain. It was Calder. They stood still, bodies tense. This was no rescue. It was a crossroads. And they could feel it. If Calder had chosen this, then what waited for them might not be their brother at all. The voice of the council offers peace. But it costs everything you are. A soul is not meant to be dissolved into the many. To run beside another is strength, but to lose yourself to we is death in disguise. Lyra's ears twitched. Evelyn shifted closer. The fog thickened. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They had run together long enough to know. The test had begun, and Calder was already inside. Chapter 5. The Ones Who Whisper. She stood barefoot in the clearing, a circle of ash and stone, where the mist curled unnaturally and no birds dared to fly. Celine's eyes were calm but burning. Her long blonde hair clung to her shoulders. Her breath fogged the air, even though there was no wind. The elders were around her now, not visible at first, but felt. The temperature fell, the earth recoiled, and then they emerged, not from shadows, from absence, from the places where nothing should be. 3 of them, rotted, cloaked, eyes like empty wells. The council, they did not move like predators, they moved like rot, inevitable and patient. "You are strong," one rasped, voice like dripping wax. "But strength alone is lonely. We offer unity, peace, purpose, power." Celine did not flinch. "I already have purpose," she said quietly. "And peace? That comes when the self is true." The second stepped closer, his lips barely covering his jagged teeth. "The forest is many. The tree does not grow alone. Why should you?" Celine smiled, not kindly. "Because I am not a tree. I am the storm that breaks them. They always offer comfort first. The collective is not a home, it is a hive, and it starves without hosts. You think you're offering power," she continued, stepping slowly in a circle, eyes on all of them. "But what you offer is a cage with soft walls. You offer sameness, safety, stillness, and you call it strength." "We offer the end of pain," the third elder said. "Pain is not the enemy," she said. "It's proof I'm alive." They shifted, their robes pulled tighter, the mist thickened. "You serve Lycans," one sneered. "The wild god, the selfish god, the one who left you to carry your pain alone." "I serve no one," Celine said, "not even Lycans. I run with him. I choose his path." She stepped closer now, her voice steady, unshaken. "Because his world is nature's truth, that we are not meant to be leashed, but to run free, that we earn our power, and we claim it as our own. The forest does not ask the wolf to apologize for its howl, nor does the moon beg the river to still its current. Each force moves in harmony because it is free, not because it is told to." "You call yourselves wise," Celine said, "but you're cowards. You ask for obedience, not out of strength, but because you fear what can stand alone." She lowered her chin, her eyes like embers in the mist. "There is nothing more powerful than the individual who knows who they are, and you will never understand that." The elders hissed. The fog surged. A blast of cold hit her chest like claws. She dropped to one knee, not from fear, but from impact. "You refuse us, so you will remain until you understand. Until you are ready to give." Chains of shadow slithered from the soil, wrapping around her wrists, her ankles. Not metal, but memory and fog. A cage not of bars, but of unspoken weight. Celine struggled, teeth clenched, body twisting. But they had struck not her strength, but her isolation. They would hold her, for days, for years, until Calder came and made the trade. The collective never defeats the individual in open battle. It waits until the individual is alone, wounded, desperate, then offers the illusion of belonging in exchange for the truth of the self. In the fog, her howl never made it out, but somewhere far off, across time and trees, a wolf would feel it and believe she had run away.
Echoes fill the night.
Chapter 6. The Weight of One. The fog swirled thick around the crumbled chapel in the heart of the dead village, its steeple broken, its bells long rusted silent. Inside, lit only by flickering blue flame and the pulse of ancient runes, the council of elders stood in half circle, and before them, Calder, towering, shifted. His werewolf form was unlike the others. Massive, sinew coiled like rope, dark fur wet with sweat and moonlight. But it was not just his body that had changed. His eyes were no longer wild. They were tired, willing. One of the elders stepped forward, its skin stretched like parchment over a skull too long preserved. You feel it now, don't you? The ease, the silence, no more chasing, no more pain. Another moved to the other side, voice dripping like oil in water. Celine ran, because you could not carry her pain. She needed more than one. She needed all. And you were still selfish. Calder did not growl. He didn't even breathe deeply. He just stood, eyes low, jaw tight. But now, 2 more have come, the third said. They will tell you to fight, to struggle, to believe in your own mind again. They will try to make you feel guilty for choosing peace. A low rumble vibrated in Calder's throat. Not rage, not yet. Confusion. But where were they when Celine cried in the dark? Where was their strength when she broke beneath her burden? The first elder leaned closer, claws barely dragging across the stone. They come not to save you, Calder, but to bind you, to pull you back into pain, to offer struggle dressed as love, while Celine is lost to the wind. This is the lie of the collective. You are nothing alone. It is not spoken in hatred. It is whispered in sympathy, because to believe it is easier than to rise. Outside, 2 figures appeared at the edge of the broken village. Lyra, Evelyn, still in wolf form, smaller, leaner, eyes sharp with purpose. They did not come with rage. They came with truth. But truth does not speak louder than grief. Calder's eyes lifted. He saw them, and the elders stepped back, their mouths curling like serpents in shadow. There they are, one hissed. Loyal not to you, but to their alpha. To his freedom, his fire. But fire burns, and when it has no fuel, it dies alone. We are water. We extinguish your pain, together. Let the fire come. Calder let out a breath. It sounded like thunder cracking through fog. And then he moved, out of the chapel, onto the stones, massive, controlled, silent. He faced them now. Lyra and Evelyn, no hate in his eyes, only purpose. And then he stepped forward, against them. A beast who forgets his name becomes a weapon for those who have none of their own. The council does not lead. It devours, and Calder is now theirs to wield.
For those who connect with the words of Professor Shadow, for those the stories touch, deeper. The Vault holds more: full audiobooks, secret lore, the Becoming the Professor course, the Eldritch Codex. New tales added weekly, only for those ready to go deeper. Click the join button below and unlock the Vault.
Chapter 7. The breaking moon. The fog barely shifted as they faced him. Calder stood like a monument, massive, his fur rippling like a black tide under the moonlight. His golden eyes, once alive with reason, now glowed with a cold, detached rage. Across from him, Lyra and Evelyn crouched low, their bodies tense, their breath steady. They didn't bare their teeth. They didn't growl. They reached. Through the invisible thread, the bond of Dimitri's pack, of Lisonor's pulse, they tried to touch Calder's mind, not with words, with memory, with presence, a scent shared long ago, the warmth of a campfire, Celine's laugh carried in wind. We are with you. You are not lost. But the signal didn't reach. Calder's mind was sealed, dammed up with shame and grief, reinforced by the council's whispers. She ran because you failed her. They will fail you too. They do not understand, but we do. The muscles in his shoulders tightened. His claws scratched deep into the stone, and then he charged. The impact shattered the stillness. Lyra rolled left, claws raking his side. Evelyn launched upward, teeth snapping toward his throat. Their speed was unmatched. Agile, coordinated, furious. But Calder was a storm-given form. He twisted, caught Evelyn mid-air, and slammed her into the cobblestone with a force that cracked the earth. Lyra came down on his back, biting, clawing, but he flung her off like dust. They moved in sync. They struck with precision, but he fought with conviction. The lie had become his truth, and he wielded it like a blade. Evelyn struck low, Lyra struck high, but Calder caught Lyra mid-leap, drove her into the side of the chapel, then spun and kicked Evelyn away like a broken doll. Blood hit the ground. Breathing turned ragged. Lyra tried to rise, only to have Calder slam his forearm down across her spine. Evelyn crawled toward her, but her legs faltered, one eye already swelling shut. The fight was over. They lay still, broken, barely breathing. Two wolves silenced beneath the crushing weight of betrayal. And then the elders appeared. From the fog, from the cracks, from the rot beneath the stones. Not triumphant, hungry. They did not walk. They slithered, hovered, glided. Three shadows, one voice. How glorious the scent of fallen hope. They moved around Calder, not as leaders, but as parasites feeding from the host they'd twisted. One crouched beside Lyra, brushing clawed fingers against her blood-matted fur. "I have never tasted Lycan blood before," he whispered, voice like silk torn by teeth. "I wonder if it remembers the forest as it drains." The others circled Evelyn, murmuring to each other like priests around a sacrifice. So full of fight, so full of fire. Let's see what remains when the flame goes out. The collective never creates, it only consumes, and in its hunger it must find the strongest and bleed them dry. The elders closed in, jaws lowered, claws extended. The girls could not move, could not howl, could only feel the cold breath of the council's triumph wrap around them like chains made of silence. And then, darkness. Chapter 8. The one the fog remembers. The fog clung to the village like a second skin, heavy, damp, suffocating. Lyra and Evelyn lay still upon the cobblestone, their fur matted with blood, chests barely rising. The council circled them now, hunched and twitching like carrion, ancient mouths parted, fangs glistening. One elder extended a clawed finger toward Lyra's throat. Another leaned in toward Evelyn's open wound. "This is the price of defiance," one hissed. "They are ripe. Drink." But then something shifted. A sound not heard, but felt. A vibration in the marrow. A hum that reached beneath the skin and spoke directly to the blood. Calder flinched. The massive werewolf stood over the fallen, towering, chest heaving. But now his shoulders sagged. His breath caught in his throat, his claws curled in hesitation, and then slowly he turned, not from command, from instinct, and dropped to his knees. The elders blinked, confused, angry. "What are you doing?" "Stand!" "They are weak. Finish it." But Calder's ears pulled back, his massive form lowered further, neck turned, throat exposed. Submission. Total. The elders recoiled. "What is it?" one croaked. "What do you see?" Calder didn't answer. He couldn't, because now they saw it too. At the end of the ruined street, beyond the blue lantern light, deep within the fog that no moon could touch. A shape, black, tall, still. It stood where the world ended, where memory stopped, where fear was born. A form emerged, not fast, not loud, but inevitable. It did not crawl, it did not run. It walked upright, each step echoing like a drum in the bones of every living thing. The elders backed away. It cannot be. He would not come here. Not him. Not the Alpha. Not Dimitri. But it wasn't. The figure came closer, and with it came something more than scent, more than presence. Command. It radiated from him like heat from the sun. It was not aggression. It was truth. And nature, true nature, obeys truth. Calder began to shake. He tried to stand, and fell to one knee again. The fog parted further, revealing a beast larger than any elder, taller than even Calder, cloaked in black fur like midnight pulled into flesh, eyes like ancient gold, glowing softly, without emotion, because it didn't need to feel anything to be known. This was the Alpha of Winter, not a legend, not a weapon, a law made flesh. Some beings do not need to raise their voices, they do not need to snarl or strike. They exist, and the world remembers how to kneel. The elders stumbled back, their claws scraping at the stones. "Protect us," they begged Calder. "You are one of us now. You made a choice." But Calder could no longer hear them. The call was too close now, the truth too loud. He dropped fully to the ground, belly low, tail tucked. He crawled forward a few steps, then stopped, head down, body pressed flat against the earth. Every part of him whispered, "Forgive me." The Alpha stepped over him without pause, not in cruelty, not in mercy, because nothing submits to the Alpha unless it must. He passed Calder, moved through the circle of elders, and came to stand over Lyra and Evelyn. He did not growl. He did not look back. He simply stood, a wall of nature between predator and prey. The elders froze. They looked at each other. They whispered in their dying tongue, "He will not strike. He's too old to fight. He has not come for war." And yet, not one of them moved, because war was already here, and it stood on two legs beneath the full moon, where the fog no longer dared to touch. Chapter 9. The fog breaks. The moon held still in the sky, like the judgment of a silent god. Beneath it, the Alpha of Winter stood unmoving, his hulking form casting long shadows over the cobblestones. His eyes, golden and eternal, looked upon the broken wolves beneath him, Lyra and Evelyn, and then slowly, his head tilted back. He howled, not rage and not command, truth, and they heard it. Their chests filled, their wounds did not close, but they no longer mattered. Pain was a whisper now. They stood, still bleeding, still aching, but they stood, not because they were healed, but because they remembered who they were. Behind them, Calder still crouched. He watched the two Lycans rise. Confused, the elders flinched. Their claws tightened. "Do not be swayed," they whispered into Calder's mind. "You are one of us. She left you. They came to take you. Stay with the council. Stay safe. Stay needed." But the fog in Calder's mind, once so thick, had begun to thin. The howl of the Alpha had pierced it, not with logic, not with plea, but with reality. And reality, when faced directly, has no need to explain itself. He rose, not in rage, not in submission, in clarity. Lyra and Evelyn turned. Their eyes met Calder's. There was no fight in him now, because the true fight had already been lost by those who thought they could manipulate nature itself. The elders saw it too. Their whispers became shouts. "He is ours. You made an oath. You are bound to us." But Calder no longer listened. He had not joined them. He had been used by them. They had not offered unity, only control. Not protection, only dependence. Not love, only guilt. And now, guilt had no more power. The Alpha of Winter turned towards the elders. He did not growl. He did not ask. He moved. One step, and the elders stepped back. Another, and their courage died. The largest among them trembled. The Alpha's hand reached out, clawed, enormous, and wrapped around the elder's throat. The others shrieked. He knows where she is. Please don't! We have her. We'll show you." The Alpha said nothing. He simply stared into the creature's eyes, and in that stare, the elder saw its own irrelevance. Calder stepped forward, a growl building in his throat. The elders scrambled. "We will take you to her. We swear it." The Alpha of Winter slowly released his grip. Not in mercy, in contempt. There was no fight to be had, no battle to win. He had already won, simply by existing. This was the law of the wild, the truth the council feared most. There are no votes in the forest, only consequences. The elders led them through crumbling corridors, deeper into the mist-choked village. They came to a chamber wrapped in shadows. And there she was, Celine, bound in the black strands of collective will, tendrils of fear and obedience, tight around her wrists, her waist, her neck. But her eyes were still hers, sharp, wild, unbroken. Calder stepped forward, the last of the mental fog falling away. He growled. The command was clear. Release her, now. They obeyed. The moment the last tendril fell away, Celine dropped to her knees, and then rose, not as the woman they remembered, but as the Lycan she had always been. The transformation was instant, a flash of fur, bone and breath. She stood, tall and furious, a snarl tearing from her throat. "You leeches," she growled, voice feral with rage. The elders turned to flee. Parasites never stay to fight. They do not defend what they build, for they build nothing. Lyra and Evelyn stepped forward, ready to chase. But Celine held up a clawed hand. "Let them run. Let them remember." Outside, the Alpha of Winter stood still, his back turned, his task complete. He did not stay for thanks. He did not wait for praise. He simply walked back into the fog, back into legend. He was not their leader. He was what leaders feared, a truth made flesh, a shadow they could never control. He had restored the balance, and now he left it in their hands. Chapter 10. The Grove. The clearing lay still beneath the breath of morning. No moon now, no mist, only sky, vast and clear, and the slow hum of dawn beginning to wake the trees. Lyra and Evelyn sat side by side on the soft earth, their bodies returned to human form, their skin marked by bruises that would fade, and choices that would not. Celine stood near them, arms folded, a quiet strength in her stillness. Just beyond, by the roots of an old ash tree, Calder sat alone, his back to them, his shoulders low, his eyes fixed on nothing. The battle was over, but for Calder, the war inside still lingered. Celine stepped forward and lowered herself beside Lyra and Evelyn. "If this was your first calling," she said gently, "you completed it well." Lyra shook her head. Evelyn looked down. "We were defeated," Evelyn whispered. "We failed." Celine smiled, not kindly, not pitying, but truly. "No, You uncovered the truth. You exposed what would have remained hidden. Without you, none of this would have been revealed. Lyra looked up. But it was the Alpha of Winter, who saved us. He could have been sent in the beginning. Celine turned toward the sun-streaked trees, voice soft and absolute. That's not how it works. Each of us must walk our own path. Each must find themselves. The Alpha already has. But your calling was not just survival. It was to face something darker, doubt, and to stand again after it tried to break you. She looked at them both now, eyes like wild flame and old memory. You have succeeded, and Dimitri will be pleased. The wind shifted. Evelyn looked towards Calder, still alone, still silent. Celine rose and the others followed her as they approached him. He heard them coming. Don't, Calder said, not looking back. Please, let me just say it. He turned. His voice was low, strained. I'm sorry. I was a fool. I was weak. I didn't know what they were doing to me. His eyes met Celine's first. They used my guilt, my fear of losing you. They twisted it, fed on it like wolves. Celine stepped closer, calm. No, Calder. They didn't use you. They manipulated your need to protect. They fed on your instinct to care, and they dressed that theft as love. Calder nodded, slowly. It felt so comforting to be part of something where I didn't have to think, to rest. Finally, I wanted to be taken care of. I wanted to stop choosing, stop doubting, and just belong. But deep down, it felt wrong, like wearing someone else's skin. Their tendrils were in my mind. Their voices weren't loud. They were quiet. That's how you get lost. When the lie whispers so softly, you think it's your own thought. He looked at Lyra and Evelyn now. I never meant to harm you. What I did, I didn't know. Lyra smiled, not in mockery, but in strength. You didn't harm us, Calder. Evelyn nodded. You initiated us. The grove breathed. The wind stirred the grass. The light broke through the branches like gold veins through stone. And far away, in a cave deep within the mountains, surrounded by carvings older than memory, a figure stirred. Dimitri, his form shadowed by firelight, his eyes like still water. He watched, not with pride, but with knowing. His pack was not perfect. It was not whole. It was becoming. He turned back toward the flame, the echoes of the past etched into the walls around him. One day, they would join him, when their truth was no longer something they fought for, but something they simply were. End of chapter 10. End of the last HOWL. Epilogue. The forest is quiet now. The grove, once echoing with growls and howls and blood, sleeps beneath the hush of leaves. But stories never sleep. If you wish to know more of Calder and Celine, their scars, their strength, their past can be found in the Lucas and Alara Chronicles. And as for Lyra and Evelyn, this was only their first true test. The fire in them burns bright, and it will return. You can watch their earlier steps into the unknown in The Full Moon Society and The Howling Within Her. And if the one who stepped from the fog still haunts your thoughts, if you wish to understand the power, the silence, the dominance of the Alpha of Winter, then journey deep into the mythos of the Crimson Dawn, Season 2. But be warned, once you've heard the call of the last howl, you'll never hear the night the same way again.
Fangs that tear